This is the Invite Health Podcast, and I am Amanda Williams. On today's episode, I am going to be discussing olive leaf extract and the immune system supporting properties that go along with olive leaf extract. It's really quite interesting when you look at the amount of science that has gone into assessing the powerful constituents that are contained within the olive leaf itself. And across the spectrum, there are so many different ways in which olive leaf has been shown to be very, very beneficial. So I'm going to get into all of that, but before we get started, just as a reminder to subscribe to the Invite Health Podcast today, you can leave us a review. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health. All of the information on today's episode will be linked in the episode description, and you can visit invitehealth.com/podcast for more information. So let's talk about olive leaf. Thinking of the Mediterranean diet, and I am always an advocate of people adhering to the Mediterranean diet because it's the most widely studied diet out there and has been shown to be the most effective when we think about human health, when we talk about brain health, heart health, control of blood glucose, control of healthy cholesterol. So across the board, the Mediterranean diet is just so beneficial. Well, olive leaf, coming from the olive tree, is native to that Mediterranean region. And we certainly have been able to recognize that some of the main active constituents of the olive tree really can do a wonderful job when we look at different health issues that we commonly come across. And one area of research to me that's quite interesting is the way that olive leaf has been looked at when it comes to the immune system, and recognizing the way that oxidative stress can drive up inflammation and basically dampen down our normal immune system response, which is why olive leaf has been looked at as being kind of this means to try to enhance those initial immune system responses, which is why I gained such interest in looking at olive leaf as a potential really lovely supplement to add into an immune system support routine. And oftentimes people will talk to me about, all the different benefits of olive leaf, and maybe they've heard about it for helping to support healthy blood pressure, or even for targeting issues such as joint discomfort. So there's a lot of different ways in which olive leaf itself has been studied and researched, but the interest of how it's actually working in the immune system is what's really gained a lot of momentum over the last decade. So, we talk about the Mediterranean diet, knowing it has all of these different benefits, and then we look at the olive leaf itself. Well, one of the main constituents that we are looking at and assessing as having all of these potential health altering benefits is oleuropein. So oleuropein is this very unique compound that is derived from the olive leaf itself. And we recognize that oleuropein is responsible for most of the antioxidant properties that come from the olive leaf. You can even look at olive oil as well. And it's that oleuropein. Oleuropein is what gives that kind of that bitter taste to an olive. That is coming directly from the oleuropein. Well, we know that the leaves themselves contain a really high amount of this powerful compound, which is what makes the extract form such a really wonderful nutrient. And then when you start to look at the science behind it, then it all starts to make sense, and understanding that the immune system really does a lovely job when it comes to reacting and responding to the introduction of oleuropein into the system. So you can look at all of the different antioxidants that are derived from different food-based nutrients. Like, for example, when we talk about green tea, we talk about the EGCG. Well, olive leaf has many different antioxidants to it as well. But the main phenolic compound that we recognize to have the highest bioavailability and to potentiate all of these powerful health benefits is the oleuropein itself. And we recognize that it has several pharmacological properties to it. We know this because there's been extensive research. So there was an interesting bit of information that came out that was published back in 2010 talking about oleuropein and all of its pharmacological effects. And this was in the Scientia Pharmaceutica journal, where they were talking about oleuropein and its pharmacological effects. We know that there are multiple pharmacological effects of olive leaf extract and this powerful constituent that is contained within this that's very bioavailable, and it is called oleuropein. I'm going to tell you more about that, but we're going to take a quick break, so we will be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by InviteHealth.com. For over 20 years, Invite Health has provided premium quality supplements and expert advice you can trust. Now, first-time customers can enjoy an exclusive offer. Visit invitehealth.com/podcast or click the link in this episode description. That's invitehealth.com/podcast for your exclusive offer on Invite Health products. Invite Health offers the resources you need to make important decisions about your health. Chat live with degreed healthcare professionals, get product information, and find retail locations near you at invitehealth.com. You can also learn about our new genetic testing program and our exclusive Invite Fitness Wellness program. Follow Invite Health on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast today. Now back to our episode.
And welcome back. Let's talk more about oleuropein, this powerful compound found in olive leaves. It's also in olive oil, but it's really a high amount found in the actual leaves themselves. And from this journal, they talk about all the different pharmacological properties of this, including it being an antioxidant, having anti-inflammatory properties, anti-atherogenic properties. So when you think about that, we're talking about the cardiovascular system. And when you think about atherosclerosis or the plaque building up in the vessels, that's what they are talking about there. They've studied it in the setting of anti-cancer properties, antimicrobial, as well as antiviral. So this is why I wanted to talk about this particular formulation, because it's great that we know it can target issues with the aging effect and oxidative stress. And this is where we gain all of these benefits in terms of its antioxidant properties. And that's even to a certain degree when you look at it as an anti-atherogenic, the way that they describe that, because we know if our cholesterol particles become oxidized, then that drives up our overall risk for a cardiovascular event. So it's the powerful antioxidants in that. Now, when we look at it, when it comes to its antimicrobial impacts, this has been shown, the oleuropein from the olive leaf has been shown to have really strong antimicrobial activity against both gram-negative and gram-positive bacteria. And they said it's the phenolic structures within the oleuropein that seem to produce its antibacterial effects by damaging the bacterial membrane, or basically disrupting the way that those bacteria are trying to infect our cells. So then they move further in and they're looking at antiviral properties. So that's what kind of, gained my attention, because I'm always a big fan of any type of viral research. So they looked at the way that the oleuropein could exhibit this significant antiviral activity against different forms of viruses, including respiratory syncytial virus and parainfluenza virus. So a lot of research has gone into the viral aspect of oleuropein. And for me, I think, well, this is definitely a topic that people are interested in right now, being that we are dealing with a worldwide major pandemic going on. But I also like people to understand the other benefits that you can yield if you are taking the olive leaf extract. Oftentimes when I talk to people about olive leaf extract, it may come down to helping to support healthy blood pressure, for example. And the ways in which that can do that by addressing the stiffness that can occur within the vascular system. And you can see this happen over time because of high blood pressure, for example. And if those endothelial cells start to take a beating, then we get more and more of that vascular stiffening that occurs. So what we know is that oleuropein does a nice job in terms of allowing the body's natural release of nitric oxide to occur in a very efficient way. So when you have the oleuropein circulating in the system, the body sends a signal and says, oh, hey, we should release nitric oxide. And what do we know about nitric oxide is that helps to create vasodilation. So we're getting better blood flow. So we're getting the antioxidant benefit from it, but we are also yielding the benefits when it comes to nitric oxide release, targeting the issue with oxidized LDLs. Certainly, we know that there are so many different benefits that go along with oleuropein. So I want to tell you about a particular clinical research study when they utilized oleuropein coming from the olive leaf extract and tell you a little bit about what they found out when they gave this to folks. But we're going to take a quick break first, so we will be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by InviteHealth.com. For over 20 years, Invite Health has provided premium quality supplements and expert advice you can trust. Now, first-time customers can enjoy an exclusive offer. Visit InviteHealth.com/podcast or click the link in this episode description. That's InviteHealth.com/podcast for your exclusive offer on Invite Health products. Invite Health offers the resources you need to make important decisions about your health. Chat live with degreed healthcare professionals, get product information, and find retail locations near you at invitehealth.com. You can also learn about our new genetic testing program and our exclusive Invite Fitness Wellness program. Follow Invite Health on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast today. Now back to our episode.
And welcome back. Let's talk a little bit more about olive leaf extract and that powerful constituent or compound that is contained in that, which is oleuropein. So I want to talk about this study that they did, which to me was kind of an interesting way in which olive leaf is actually working. And this was published in the journal called Nutrients, where they were looking at the effects of olive leaf extract on upper respiratory illness in high school athletes. So this is kind of a really good targeted group, because what we know is that when people have extensive endurance training from exercise, that there's a little window in which the immune system can kind of depress itself. And during that time frame, this can be 1 to 3 days on estimates, that you have a weakened immune system. You don't feel sick, but the immune system is just trying to keep up from all of the stress that has been brought on because of that endurance exercise. You see this oftentimes in marathon runners. Just after a marathon, people can fall sick with even the common cold. And that is because of that window in which the immune system kind of depresses itself and then it comes back. But this is why they wanted to look at this. They were looking at upper respiratory illness and how that has such a major impact on training as well as competition in athletic settings. So they took a group of healthy high schoolers and they wanted to see if oleuropein and another one of the active constituents found in olive leaf extract, which is called hydroxytyrosol, if those would have any type of a difference when it came to the frequency of them catching upper respiratory illnesses brought on by viruses. So they took this group and they had them randomized into 2 different groups, one receiving oleuropein, the other one was receiving placebo. And they were looking at their measures of well-being and their training load, as well as respiratory illnesses. And what they were able to determine after doing this particular study was that the group that was given the olive leaf extract, and remember, they're checking all of these different things. They're looking at their food intake. They're looking at, how hard their actual training regimen was, how well they're sleeping, all the different factors that can lower the immune system. So, to rule different things out. And then they looked at the rate of upper respiratory infections, how long they lasted, and they were able to determine that those who were taking the olive leaf extract containing that hydroxytyrosol and that oleuropein did much better in terms of either not catching upper respiratory infections, or they had a significant reduction in the number of sick days, which I think is really quite impressive, because many times people will say that, well, I take a lot of vitamins and minerals, so I should be fine. But remember, there's different reasons as to why the immune system can go into these tiny little blurpits of depressing themselves. So maybe you're under a lot of stress. In that short time frame is when you are more susceptible. So while you say, I consider myself to be a healthy person, I'm not worried about catching anything, you just never know, because you're not feeling sick, you just never know when the immune system may be in that depressed setting. And when that happens, you are more prone to potential infection from things like viruses and bacteria. But what we do know is that oleuropein and that hydroxytyrosol coming from olive leaf extract seems to be very beneficial. And they concluded here, and they said that their research shows that olive leaf extract supplementation could be used to alleviate the effects of upper respiratory illness on high school athletes. So I think that that's very impressive in and of itself, because you're taking a young population who's quote unquote healthy. I mean, they're physically active. These are athletes, and they are still seeing that benefit from taking the olive leaf extract itself. So for me, I really am impressed with all of the research across the board when you look at the way it benefits glycation in the body. Glycation is not a good thing, but when you have excess glycation that builds up over time, that can do damage to different structures in the body and the function of different pathways in the body, which is why, like in diabetics, you'll see neuropathies that can occur because you have glycation that is basically hampering or hindering the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. And we know that oleuropein has been shown to even be able to target the glycation negative effects. And part of that reason is through easing up inflammation and fending off oxidative stress. So there's so much information out there when it comes to olive leaf extract. But during this time, it may be advantageous to consider something like olive leaf to help to support and enhance your immune defenses. So that is all that I have for you today. And I want to thank you for tuning in to the Invite Health podcast. You can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts, or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Make sure that you subscribe. You can leave us a review. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health Today. And we will see you next time for another episode of the Invite Health podcast.